Do you ever find yourself at the pub or with people you don't even really like just to avoid being alone? Do you ever find yourself in a bar or in some sort of social setting with people that you get along with, but they just don't understand what it is that you're truly going through right now, just to numb the silence? You tell yourself it's a casual drink, you convince yourself it's just banter, but deep down you know the truth, because when the night's over, when you wake up the next morning and the group chat is still silent, that loneliness, it's still there. And now it's got a hangover to keep it company. And here's what nobody actually tells you. You weren't actually escaping loneliness. You were just delaying it. You drink to forget. You socialize to distract. And for a moment it works until it doesn't. Because here's the real cost of running away from loneliness. It costs you money. Money on drinks, nights out, or to just be with other people. But the real price is what it's taken from your future. It's costing you energy. You're waking up drained, sluggish, probably less motivated. And what happens then? You actually just don't do anything for the rest of the day. It costs you emotionally. That momentary high you get, that feeling, it's always followed by that smack in the face, that crash in reality, when it turns out no one actually gets it and you're still alone. And lastly, it's costing you time. That Friday night or that Thursday night, whatever it is, that day to recover, to get back into normality, that's time you ain't getting back. That's the weekend wasted. That was the opportunity of doing something gone, disappeared, just like that. And the worst part is, this cycle is killing your confidence. Every time you choose distraction over growth, it's chipping away at you. But what if I told you the discomfort you keep running from is actually the key to breaking free? So that's what we're going to be talking about on this little video here. I've done an episode recently with Gurpreet where we talked a bit about loneliness. I kind of wanted to just jump into it a little bit more, throw my personal perspective and give you some insight. And yeah, hopefully we can challenge the status quo and what's going on. So standard, house rules when it comes to putting up a video. If you're a fan of the unfiltered nature of what you're hearing right now, a cheeky subscribe goes a long way if you haven't already. We're trying to build this platform. We're trying to take it to the next level. And for that to happen, we need you lot following. If you're really enjoying the stuff, the content we're putting out there, we really need you lot engaging as much as we can. And then subscribe does that. So if you could, that'd be much appreciated. And yeah, if you've got any thoughts, any comments, look, by all means, throw them in during this video. We'd love to hear a little bit more in regards to what it is that really resonates with you and what doesn't. With that being said, let me just jump back into loneliness, I guess. Let me tell you a bit more about what I learned from sitting in the discomfort of being alone. See, I'm not going to lie to you, it can be quite brutal at first. There aren't really any distractions. There's no noise. It's just you and your thoughts and the thoughts that you've been avoiding. And the first time I sat with myself, it was like, as weirdly put as this is, it was like facing a version of me I didn't really recognize. And I had to ask myself some real hard questions. Why do I need to keep distracting myself? What am I actually afraid of? Am I spending time with people who fill me up or with people who are just available? And here's what I learned. Loneliness isn't the enemy. It's a mirror. You get this choice. Keep running or finally face yourself. But the second I stopped avoiding it and started leaning into it, that's when things started to change. I realized being alone isn't the problem. It's what you do in that time that makes or breaks you. So if you're tired of feeling stuck in this cycle, here's what I actually did that made a difference. Instead of looking for comfort in the same places, I started asking myself, where would someone I admire spend their time? Would it be at a pub every Thursday night? Would it be at the studios where I record? Would it be in a coffee shop in the city? Would it be at the gym? Would it be somewhere where they show the football? Would it be at the golf club? I started thinking to myself, if I want to hang out with better people, if I want to hang out with people who challenge me to learn and grow a little bit more, to be comfortable with regards to what's going on behind the scenes, I've got to put myself in those scenarios. And I realized that by staying at home and working in my work environment at home, I possibly am not helping myself actually integrate and socialize, which is something I want to do. So every time I situate myself within the studio setting as an example, and I sit down there to work, what happens? I create conversations. I realize I'm not alone because there are other people doing the same thing. We now have similar interests. I learn a little bit more about editing and stuff put myself in a location where essentially I'm with like-minded people. Let that just sit for a bit. And it's the same thing with the gym, right? I've mixed and matched my gym schedule a lot in terms of sometimes training in the morning, sometimes training at night, sometimes in the afternoon. And I kind of do what feels right for me. But I know in regards to the gym crowd at my gym, and shout out to Evolve, At certain times, you get certain individuals who train there at that time because it fits their schedule. If I want to be there in that time because I enjoy that energy and I want to have that level of motivation, I'm going to rearrange my calendar to make it work where I can be there, where I know they're going to be there. And that makes a big difference, because training at a time where you feel possibly alone doesn't help because those individuals aren't there. So it's using that in your locker. If I want to be around people who are going to help push me to push more weight or dig a little bit deeper within my squats or whatever, like, it kind of makes sense to possibly put myself in those environments. Does that make sense? So once you've found a location of where like people you admire or like-minded people will be, the next thing I would recommend, and this is something that I did, was what's one way I could sit within my own company? What's one way I could really dial in what's really going on? Like, instead of running from silence, sit with it. So I remember when I was in Japan, and I'm trying to remember where I was in Japan. I think I was in Nara. So it's where like the deers are, and you can see the deers. And I stayed 2 nights there. And I felt, one thing I recognized when I was in Japan was that no one really spoke the language English. It was everything through a Google Translate, or if they could make out what I was saying, I pointed to things on the menu. That was about it. So it was kind of like difficult to really like communicate. So I did feel quite alone. And obviously I was away from the golf course, back at home. I was just there walking down the street. So one thing I decided to do, probably not the best idea, but I went to the nearest 7-Eleven. I think it's called a 7-Eleven. Anyway, went to the nearest like off-license kind of place, bought myself a really cheap bottle of Red Label, got some chocolates, got myself a can of Coke, and like poured it up, had a couple of sips and went for a walk, and I just talked to myself. It sounds very strange, it sounds very weird, but it was me being in my own company. There was no one there else to speak to. I went for a good hour walk, talking to myself. I even remember voice noting it, so actually putting my AirPods in, click and record, and just having myself speak and being able to hear that the next day. And I went quite deep with a number of things. And what this allowed me to do was, it was pretty shitty being there alone in that space. Like, it'd be nice to socialize, but where I was staying, it kind of wasn't like a sociable area. But it helped me realize that, to get comfortable with you and to get comfortable with just being in your own space, and bearing in mind I've done like 2.5 months of traveling prior to this, you thought I'd be used to it and be comfortable with it. No, especially when no one can speak the language. You're like, damn, I really am alone. It's just me and my headphones. It's just me and me. Like, you can smile at someone and that's about it. Saying hello weren't going to get you anywhere further. It was okay. And then you kept moving. And so, like, to get comfortable with this, I had to be comfortable with who I was. I had to be comfortable with what was going on in my head and how I felt about certain scenarios and situations that are playing out back at home, etc. And it was an interesting experience. So one thing I recommend right now, because it got me thinking, what can I do when I'm back at home? What can I do to sit in my own company? Sometimes that's like sitting there reading. Sometimes it's going to a coffee shop, taking your laptop there and just sitting there and doing some work within your own company and understanding the tasks that's assigned. But I've got this hobby where I've spoken about it so many times, golf. I've posted videos where I've gone out there to practice by myself. There is no better feeling for me on a nice sunny day, and obviously it's quite limited in the UK, but going out to the golf club, putting on my headphones, going towards the back of the golf club where they've got like a chipping area, and just practicing my chipping, practicing my putting, going to the other area of the golf course and just hitting a few balls, going out by myself and just hitting a few balls with some music or listening to a podcast, and really just dialing in to me, just being in tune with me. And I can't stress how nice it's felt. In the past, it's felt amazing. Sometimes it has felt a bit lonely, but then possibly changing what I've been listening to like educate myself, or just to hear something that's quite relatable to what I'm going through right now, actually helps a lot. So that's one thing I definitely recommend. And it's like, with that, the more time you spend being comfortable with yourself, knowing that you are okay, you don't need anyone else, you'll feel less of a reason to escape whatever this feeling brings, because you've now got comfortable with the fact that, yeah, okay, cool, you're alone for a bit, and that's totally fine. So if I dial it forward to, like, say, a Friday night where I'm at home and everyone's out, I'm thinking, right, it's 6 p.m. It'd be nice to do something. But the reality is I've got 3 hours. After those 3 hours, it's going to be like 9. I could possibly just chill and go to sleep early. I've had a long week. What have I got planned for Saturday and Sunday? Well, the football's on. I've got some house admin to do, some life admin to do, and I've got golf. Do I really need to go out? No. So what could I do for me right now? What do I really want to do? Fuck it. Let's just watch that film you've been putting off. Let's just binge that Netflix or Apple TV that you've been putting off. And you get comfortable with it. There's now no longer a need to really go out and do things with other people, because you've got comfortable with just being with you. Like, you might want to do it every now and then. Great. But you don't have to do it. And that's a big difference. And the last thing that I took away from being in this space of feeling alone was I thought about who actually adds extra value to my life. It's a bit deep when you say it like this, because it's like, am I just telling all my friends to fuck off right now? No, not even the slightest. It's more of a case of, I've realized my circle probably has shrunk a little bit more for good reason, but now the conversations I'm having in that capacity aren't a waste of time. So there'd be times where I would go and meet the boys and it'd be great, and we'd talk about football and have a laugh, and it's fun. It's all shits and gigs. But sometimes I kind of didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to just sit with maybe one of the guys and just have a conversation. Just about life, you know? Talk about work, talk about business, relationships, talk about like gym and health. And you start to realize that like certain people add value and certain people are not really doing anything additional for you. And for those who aren't doing anything additional for you, you really need to take yourself out and put yourself with them. And like it's interesting, like when I hang out with a few friends who actually challenge me, they inspire me. When I hear their stories about what they're doing, when I hear about their struggles, it really like pushes me to think a bit more outside of the box from a business front, but also from a personal front. And I find that's a little bit more of a better reason to go out now versus just going out for the sake of it. Like sometimes, even if it's just for shits and gigs, like who do I really want to be in an environment with where I can have a laugh about anything and everything and just take down everything that's really been bothering me this week? Do you know what I mean? And the harsh truth of that, when you start to dial it in, is that you're going to realize maybe there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a handful of people, maybe a bit more, who are very much like you. And that doesn't mean to say that you need to sack off everyone, but you start to realize that like who you kind of want to spend more time with and who necessarily doesn't really add in any value. And then also it's a case of, well, do I actually even need to go out right now? Do I actually need to be around anyone? Because being by myself is actually quite beneficial tonight. And I think that makes a big, big difference. Like for me recently, I will drive everywhere, which means I won't drink. And like the first time you wake up on that Saturday morning or Friday morning, whatever day it is that you're socializing, fully rested, like with a clear head, and you're not like regretting last night's decision, like it's just gone. I want you to like message me back or put it in the comments, because I feel like it will all start to make sense to you. It's crazy what happens when I've allowed myself to just do me for Friday night, not done anything, knowing that I'm playing golf first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. start. I'm up at 6. I've done my morning routine. I've got my tea ready. I've got like my snacks ready for golf. I go out there, play my round, have some fun, come back, middle of the day, have some lunch, chill, watch some TV, do some work. It feels nice knowing that you have that versus just lounging around and wasting hours of the day. And sometimes we do want that time to waste and chill around. I'm not disputing that. It's just, yeah, I feel like something will click once you start to experience this. But that's just my personal opinion. That's kind of what I want to talk about on this particular little segment of being lonely. I'm not sure if it's really going to help or add value, but I feel like it's a topic that we should speak about, because I feel like a lot of people do put themselves in unnecessary scenarios and situations just to feel like they're not alone. Especially like in the dating space, like going on an unnecessary date or reaching out to someone you once spoke to just for the sake of it. Like that shit ain't helping, man. Keep it moving. Trust me, put yourself first. It's crazy when you like to dial it in a little bit more. Like you can actually do a lot more for yourself versus actually having to go out. Like I challenge you right now. If you are meant to go out with someone and you kind of didn't really want to do it, I challenge you to stay in, and the money you would have spent going out, treat yourself. Get yourself in a takeaway, buy a film or rent a film out on Amazon or Apple or whatever, like whatever it is. Just sit there and be within your company. If you are going to go out for drinks, pour yourself a drink and just be cool. Set the mood lighting a little bit more dimmer. Just be within your company and see how it feels the next day. I think that you'll start to realize that it's actually not that bad versus actually having to put yourself in scenarios just for the sake of it. And a lot of us do it just for the sake of it. Anywho, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this has helped and it's added value. And if this is something that you feel is still triggering you and you'd like to dive more into it, you know where I'm at. You can find me on Instagram. All the information, all my social links are in the bio. Drop me a follow, drop me a message, and I'll be more than happy to hold some space for you and get really unfiltered in regards to what's going on. It's your boy Pre. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you lot soon on the next video. Peace.